a big thing of Bond is, as I said, the holistic education. So we're really interested in the social and academic progress and growth of our students.
In this video, you'll meet Phil Davies, who's the secondary school principal at the Bond Academy in Toronto, Ontario. And in this video, you'll hear him talk about how the school maintains a sense of community between its secondary and primary schools, as well as within its boarding, its homestay, and its day students. And you'll also hear him talk about how he encourages students to break out of their shell as they're being challenged academically. And you'll also hear him talk about how the school can respond to certain needs for a program, and in this case, an elite basketball program that is unique to the Bond Academy. Hi, Phil, how are you?
Good, yourself? How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. So why don't you start by telling us 3 things you love about your job?
3 things I love about my job. I love working with students. Initially, when I got into teaching, it wasn't just about academics, it's also about the social aspect. When I was in high school, I had social anxiety, so I wanted to learn from that and assist students in high school kind of through my own experiences. So that's one thing I love about it. I love the challenge. It's a fast-paced job, being principal. There's a lot of different hats you have to wear and a lot of decisions you need to make very quickly and working with a lot of staff. So I love that challenging aspect. And another thing I just love, I kind of touched on it already, but I just love working with youth. I think that, it's such a vibrant time to be alive, and that's inspiring for me to see. So in a way that can also keep me young in some sort of way too, because you always see that positive kind of enthusiasm that they have.
And can you describe what the life is like at the Bond Academy? What is the culture there like?
We're elementary secondary, so it's a very vibrant culture, very busy. There's always activities going on. There's a lot of, school community is very, very close. So if there's an elementary event on, it wouldn't be uncommon to see secondary families or students involved as well, or vice versa. So there's a lot of extracurriculars. It's a very vibrant, busy atmosphere, where with a lot of parental involvement and teacher-student involvement. So it's a very kind of close-knit community.
And how did you arrive at the Bond Academy, and how long have you been there?
I've been there 10 years. I started as a teacher. I was hired by our former principal, our current online principal, Jeffrey Farber. He interviewed me based on my portfolio experience in previous private schools, in portfolio committees, and he was interested in that for careers and civics, specifically careers. So he hired me based on that, and I mentored under him for many years, and he's easing into retirement and cottage life, so I kind of assumed that position afterwards.
And when you've decided to move into the administrative role from being a teacher, is there something that you wanted to change about the secondary school part of Bond Academy, or was there a challenge or a change that you wanted to make?
We've instituted a few things. So I like the program already, so I didn't feel there's anything need to be changed. I just kind of want to put my own stamp on it. Initially, we were a language intensive school. So I wanted to attract more local students. So we work with a marketing firm to identify our top 4 demographics. So we created an academic program catered to those demographics. So we've built our local population up quite a bit. And that was an interest because our elementary school is mainly local students, and also international students. We want both. As I said, the secondary was very language intensive, so we wanted programs. So we wanted to diversify and bring in local students as well. And we also brought in an elite basketball team. That was something that I wanted. I felt that was kind of a cool, unique thing about our school. There's very few programs like this in Toronto as far as basketball. And with basketball being so huge now with the Raptors and such, I thought this was the time to institute that program. So we're working with a company called Phase One, who are former Olympic and NCAA athletes. And they're the coaching staff for this elite team, who've been traveling around North America the last year. So that's been fun as well.
So you started that program last year?
Yeah, it was the first year, this academic year, the first year that we ran it. So they competed in Phoenix, Michigan, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Montreal against different elite teams. Played a team against Bahamas where our entire school, elementary, secondary, were there to cheer them on. So it was a really great atmosphere.
And then the Raptors won the championship, so the
Yes, and
the
that
time.
just makes it better for everybody, right? So yeah, yeah.
And where did that interest to have an elite program, a basketball program that no other school had, was that an interest of yours, or did you see an opportunity there in the the student population?
Well, we were approached by some different basketball programs to discuss it, and I kind of just jumped on the opportunity because it was a way to build local enrollment numbers significantly, but it was also a way to bring something else that was unique to our secondary program. And then that was when I was initially proposed the program or approached. That was when the Raptors won the championship. So it was just
Right.
basketball mania. And I'm a sportsman myself, so a fan myself, so I can appreciate basketball quite a bit. So there's just a lot of interest in the school in general. Very exciting program.
And are there other examples of how Bond has been able to adapt to a specific moment or need in the school in such a way in instituting a not only a smaller change like just a shift in your daily routine, but a major program like this?
Yeah, another program that we've instituted is the AP program. We're offering quite a few AP courses, but we're also an AP testing facility. So that's another advantage for our students. They don't have to look elsewhere for a testing facility because that it takes time and usually travel during school days to do so. So students can take the courses at Bond, but they can also be tested there, which makes it much more easier for them.
And so the specific to go back to the basketball program and
Mhm.
other initiatives to enhance a local student population, what would you say now in the secondary school is the balance between day and boarding students?
Day and boarding students. So we have I would say 1/3 of our students are probably boarding students, international students. We also have a lot of students in homestays as well. But then we also have that large component of local students as well. So it's kind of split in those three demographics there, I'd say.
And how do you maintain a sense of community and uh, how do you maintain the school culture while some students are living on campus, some are living nearby, and some are local day students?
Mhm. Yeah, so a lot of our international students and local students mix very well because international students want to learn English, and in group work in classes a lot. It's an opportunity for our local students to lead because as the students, they're not as comfortable with their language, so sometimes they'll defer in group work to some of the local students initially, right? So it's a great chance for our local students to build their leadership and teamwork skills, and then as the international students learn more English and become more confident. Um, I find that they're fully integrated in the school quite quickly because they work together so well. But there's also a lot of extracurricular programs that we run in order for the integration to occur. We have a lot of sports and arts programs. We do intramural sports with elementary and secondary combined so that our teachers, students, and sometimes even the parents will play together in different intramural sports leagues. So as I said, it's a real kind of communal atmosphere. And there's also a lot of volunteer opportunities in our elementary division for our secondary students. So especially the international students, and local. So they really get really welcomed in the environment quickly and work with families quite quickly. So it's a very, as I said, community kind of based atmosphere.
My next question was going to be how do the secondary and primary schools work together and also create that same sense of community?
Mhm. Yeah, so it starts off really early. We do the Terry Fox run together. We do that as a full K to 12. So we really enjoy that program doing it together, and it's obviously is an extremely worthwhile cause. So that kind of sets the tone for the year. And we also have a barbecue at the start of the year that involves both programs. And as I said, we have the intramurals. So it's a lot of those kind of programs that we run together. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities, as I said, for secondary students to assist in the arts programs and some of the extracurriculars in elementary as well. Sometimes there has been opportunities for secondary students to tutor or kind of mentor elementary students as well. So we try to combine programs as much as possible. We have something called the grade 7 to 10 team building day, which we run in September as well, where it's a series of events, outdoor events that they do together, just to kind of build that middle years program as well.
And what kind of student is drawn to the Bond Academy?
So speaking secondary specifically, the average class size are probably 12 to 15 students. So sometimes 10 to 12, depending on the course. So it's an opportunity for students to really have excel in small classrooms where their voice will be heard, but they also get a lot of one-on-one time with the teacher. But in our secondary program, we also offer an additional 2 hours after school of tutorial time. So from 3:40 to 4:15 every day, all teachers are available in their classrooms for additional tutorial. And then from 4:15 to 5:15 daily, we have a study hall for science and math, and then another one for English social studies, where there's an additional opportunity for students to work on their homework with a teacher present, right? So to assist with any questions. So that additional 2 hours after school daily, combined with the small class sizes and the small student teacher ratio, really gives the student a unique opportunity to have a lot of experience one-on-one with the teachers.
And how does that after school study time work with extracurriculars, like an arts program or a sports program?
So some of them are concurrent, but we also we have some after school classes as well. So we do schedule a lot of our extracurriculars then afterwards, after our additional tutorials. Some students will prefer to maybe go to the gym from 3:40 to 4:15 and maybe play hoops or play floor hockey or badminton and just get a break, and then go to the study hall from 4:15 to 5:15 or vice versa. So they have the option of going to both or one. But sometimes students, like a bit of a break and would do the sports option for a bit.
And what kind of student wouldn't do well at the Bond Academy?
We try to accommodate all students. Being a small school, one of the challenges we have is running applied courses as opposed, we run all the academic courses, but running applied courses has been difficult just with class sizes and availability of classrooms. So we do offer the applied courses, and we do sometimes in a one-on-one or group setting, but it has been difficult to offer all courses in applied as well. So most of the courses are academic in nature.
I see. And what kind of family is drawn to the school as well?
Families typically that want to be involved in the school. So a lot of our families, as I said, they're involved in extracurriculars. Our parent council is very involved in the school, and there's members from both elementary and secondary on that council. So they'll plan family fun nights. In June, typically, we'll have an outdoor festival where there's for the whole school, where it's kind of a bond fest, we call it. Just a giant party outside where there's a lot of different vendors brought in and such. So there's arts nights, there's spring and fall concerts, Christmas concerts. So there's a lot of different opportunities for families to be involved. So we typically attract families who are very hands-on and want a great education for their sons and daughters, but also the holistic experience. It's not just academics, obviously that's vital, but also the social aspect. So there's a lot of community involvement and volunteer work and extracurriculars in our school, and that kind of draws a lot of the families as well.
Is there an expectation of parental involvement in school life?
There's not so we always want the teachers, the parents, and the students to work together, because academically that gives the student the best chance to maximize their chance for success, obviously. But we also realize that our families, it's two-parent families working, they're very busy. So some have more involvement than others. I would say that they're all involved, obviously, to a degree. Most are quite involved, but we also, are quite accommodating to any family based on their needs. So we do realize that not all families can be as hands-on as some others.
Right. Mm-hmm. And how do you address inter-student conflict?
Inter-student conflict? So usually, while my role as principal, I'd hear both sides of the story. If there is an issue between students, I like to address the issue, then bringing all the students together who are involved in the conflict. A big part of that is to help them work it out themselves as well, though. I don't just want to tell them, this is your punishment or this is the outcome. I want them to help work it out together and come to a peaceful mediation if possible, because then they're learning from any mistake that is made, but they're also building those bridges up between the students again, right? So there's hopefully no issues going forward. So I like the students to really be involved in the problem solving and how they could have addressed whatever the issue was, how they could have done better. I'm a big proponent of don't approach someone when you're mad or emotional. Walk it off, listen to music, do whatever. But when the emotions are running high, that's not the time to have conversations and such.
And what about parents? How do you approach addressing parental issues and conflicts?
So similar approach, I would hear the parent side. I would hear whoever else is involved on the other side. I'd hear all sides first. Typically, I would bring them together as well if that's the best avenue, which often is, and kind of work out once again together how we can kind of solve this problem going forward, so that it's not something that's continuing. I like to act quickly if there's complaints, because we don't want something to fester for obvious reasons, right? But typically working together. And I think that's the advantage of having such a close community in your school, is that everybody knows each other. So these things, if things arise, they can be usually solved quicker due to that. So.
Right. And earlier on, you said that you like to work with this age group because it's a really interesting time in their lives. They're figuring a lot of things out and looking forward and planning out what they want for their lives. Can you think of an example of a student in particular that you helped through this process and saw them grow and emerge and mature in your time with them?
Yeah, I had a student, an international student come, and very strong in English, but he was very shy. And he reminded me of when I was in high school. So when I was a teacher, I used to have kind of an unwritten rule that students could stay in my classroom at lunch, because I usually just prepped at lunch. So they were allowed to stay in my classroom if they felt that was a safe environment, and because maybe they're shy to be in a cafeteria by themselves or such. So that was always an unwritten rule that students kind of knew, and I'd always have a collection of 4 or 5 at lunch typically. But I had one student, very shy to begin with, but a very smart, talented student. So he would stay in my room for the while, but my goal is always for these students to get out of my room at lunch in order to be among the student body. That's the goal. But in the meantime, I want to kind of learn what their interests are. And then from that, so if they're a musician or if they're into sports, then identify who might be a good fit socially for them and start to make those bridges between the students. So I had one student, as I said, very shy, and this repeated itself quite a few times with different students. But once I was able to learn a bit about them, introduce them to other students, then they kind of would spread their wings, for lack of a better word, and kind of move out of my classroom and be with friends and meet more students at lunch. So that was always a big thing for me, as I said, is trying to help those students who didn't feel comfortable in school socially, right? Because if you don't feel comfortable socially, you're not going to strive academically sometimes as well. So.
And is there a typical trajectory that grads from the Bond Academy typically go on?
Yeah, a lot of our students, we have a very high percentage going to university, almost 100% typically, or college, but typically a lot of our students want to go to university. U of T is a massive destination for our students. Waterloo, University of Waterloo, McMaster. I would say those are the kind of the big 3 for a lot of our students. Ryerson is another one, University of Ottawa. But I'd say that specifically U of T, McMaster, and Waterloo are kind of the primary destinations.
Right. And do you have any advice for parents who are going through their private school search right now?
Yeah, I think it's important to be as hands-on as possible. I would check out the Our Kids website. That's obviously the #1 place to go. I would go to the expo in October. And then once you learn more about the schools, you start to narrow down your search. I think it's important to not only go to open houses, but even more important to book time with the admissions counselor, even the principal, and get to meet people and see their vision of the school and what it's like, get a tour. Even better would be to have their child stay at the school for a day or two and see if they like it. because in the end, that's what's most important. See if it's a good fit for them, if they like it socially, academically. So I think it's about really being hands-on and going through that whole process. I think open houses are great, but I think the one-on-one time with admissions and principal was even more effective.
And if you were a parent who was going through this process and going to schools and meeting with faculty, is there a red flag that you would notice about a school or a faculty member that you were speaking to that a parent who isn't part of the industry wouldn't necessarily know?
I'd be nervous of any school that guarantees their students going to universities. That's not a guarantee any school can make. Obviously, we prepare them the best we can, and we have a high success rate in doing so. But you can never guarantee what's going to occur. So I would be nervous of that as an administrator, because I have seen how some schools do handle their admissions process. That would be my main concern as a parent.
Right. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to mention?
I think a big thing of Bond is, as I said, the holistic education. So we're really interested in the social and academic progress and growth of our students. So that's why community involvement. We do Christmas cheer. We do a lot of programs for battered women shelters, providing Christmases for families who otherwise may not be able to have one. We work with a lot of local charities as well. Senior homes, we take a lot of our Christmas concerts to the seniors' homes. So I think that leading by example and serving a community is the best way to teach your students and provide that holistic education. So that's something that Bond is very big on.